Spotlight initiative focuses primarily on prevention of violence against women and girls. We do know that there are other groups that are facing intersecting forms of violence, most especially young boys, because we have seen cases even within schools and in the society actually that young boys have been violated both domestically, sexually, and so on, in schools especially, you know. But we have also looked at the statistics, and we understand that the statistics for boys is still very much lower than that of girls and women, and also the statistics for men is so much lower than that of women, because we know even men that are facing domestic violence in their home, you know, and by their spouses, but the rate is extremely low compared to that of women and girls. So we feel for this particular project, we'll still continue to put the effort on violence against women and girls and reduce it to the barest minimum.
Welcome. I need to show who the WildFresh woman is before I get into today's conversation. Yes, this is episode 10 of our hashtag I Deal With Her series. But first, though you can see me with someone on screen, I need to share some little poetry before I describe who she is.
The WildFresh sensual woman discovers herself on a journey looking inwards, connecting to God, connecting to nature, connecting to her heart and soul. WildFresh is a way of being, an expression of who you are, your thoughts, your desires, your behaviors, your values, your relationships. You can express your WildFresh self and experience it all without any shame, being true to your authentic self. It's a journey of self-discovery, and for you. It will be different from the next person.
Yes, and so the woman that represents the WildFresh woman, who I describe as today's woman, is my guest today. But before, yes, she's standing there, calling in from Lagos in Nigeria, just like I am. Her name is Obafeyikemi Luther. She's a lifestyle entrepreneur, an experienced vulnerability and sensual coach, a speaker, a social activist, an influencer, a model, a designer, an intuitive chef with a difference, who is vulnerable, open, caring, and real. She creates experiences for women to change their lives and heal their soul and spirit so that they can feel loved, confident, and motivated to live a life that is connected to their purpose. She teaches them the tools to use to step into their authenticity and to begin to live their lives abundantly. She believes in questioning and finding the truth that lies within, challenging the status quo, and living and standing in your truth. She uses spoken word as a way to express life as she sees it through her lenses. Obafeyikemi Luther is my guest today. Hi, V. Hello there. How are you?
Hi, good afternoon, Neil. How are you?
I know you're wearing one of your creations.
I am actually. I didn't even realize.
I recognized it.
Yes. It's a Flow by Obafeyikemi Luther kimono. One of the first ones that I made, and it's actually one of my favorites. Whenever I need that kind of like bit of sort of confidence. I put it on. So yeah, it's one of my favorites.
Okay, that's brilliant. Well, I can hear you, but I find that you're freezing up. So I am going to allow you to step out and step in again. That's right. She's freezing up. But to me, I first met Fee as Fee, but somewhere along the line, she told me she's Obafeyikemi. She came up to me with this dream once, saying that she saw me, Auntie Adesoa, sitting somewhere with a lot of people at my feet. She didn't realize that someday, that was like a prophecy. Someday I'm going to be sitting down somewhere, bringing people through a series, amongst other things, that raises ideas and discusses issues that are close to our heart. We heard Zainab of Spotlight Initiative tell us something as simple as girls are the ones that are most traumatized and the ones that are most abused. That's what the statistics say. That's why we are focusing on girls and women in this series. We're not saying that boys don't get abused. They do. Now, Feyikemi had an experience as a teenager which speaks to what we've been talking about here, sexual violence. But that experience, as hardy and gory as it was, considering the fact that it happened in the home where night marauders can come in and cause havoc. But this woman has gone from that time to grow to become the wild, fresh woman. Now, Feyikemi, I'm going to play a clip of your work to allow you to step aside and change your data source. I show a clip. I like the smile that I see on your face, and I know we're going to have an interesting conversation, but you can step aside for a minute. Let me just change your network so that we're sure that you are steady. Just change your data source, and let's go back to the one that works better. So while Feyikemi is going back, I'd like the technical support to please cue the video about Fee's work, because she has evolved over time to do what she's doing today. And I'm taking her as my guest because, like I said on Instagram Live today, I told people that scars do exist from abuse, but those scars can become your badge of honor. Those scars, when you face them, can take you to the next level. We've had all kinds of gory stories on this show. So for a change, I want to speak to the fact that there is healing and it is possible. You can go from victim to survivor and to victor. So if the video is ready, can you please play? Let's see what Feyikemi actually does and her work, because she's both an actress. Now, as you can see, Faye is back. And for the first time on this show, apart from the first time, I have just one guest, and that's Faye, because I know there's such a lot to talk about. Because you are coming in here today as an expert of sorts. Before we go on, that picture of you wearing black and white, I know you so well. You look like your daughter is unbelievable. I mean, your daughter looks like you.
Oh my God. Can you hear me now?
Absolutely, I can.
Oh, fantastic. All right, yes. My daughter looks like me. Is it the black and white striped shirt?
That's right.
Yeah, it was actually when I won the Face of Yours clothing in the UK. And that was one of the that was a Yours clothing outfit. So it was one of the ones that I wore for the winners shoot. Yeah.
So tell me about the horrible incident that happened to you when you were just about 18, back from school and all of that. I know you've told this story severally, but most people who are watching this may never have heard it. Tell me about it.
So I was actually older than 18. Actually, I was about 20, probably 22, 22. Yeah. I had just come home from university. Can you hear me now? Is it okay? Okay. So I've only shared the story actually once, and I've never actually told the story in full. So you are probably the first, like live. I've never told the story in full. I've told the story to other people, you know, sort of individually. But I came home for holidays, and you know, in my house, in my grandfather's house, where I am presently, actually, and had come home for holidays. And it was one night. I think we were supposed to have gone out that evening, but my sisters and I sort of. So it was me, my mom, my grandparents were at home. My half sister was around as well, and my little brother was in the house. And my younger sister was supposed to have gone out. So I think whoever planned this assumed that she wasn't around, because my younger sister actually had no clue until the end of everything that people had come into the house. Like, she slept through the whole incident. You know, so we were just, you know, we're going to bed. That night, I had just decided to go into my mom's room. You know, some nights I would still go and sleep in her room, you know, just with her and fall asleep there. So it was me, her, and my younger brother, and we were all asleep there. And as I said, we were supposed to have been going out that night. So my cousins were supposed to come and pick us up. So I don't even know what time it was. We just saw some guys in the house. So my mom at that point thought that it was my cousin. So she was like, why are you people, you know, inside the house? Why are you coming into the house at this time? You know, and I was like, mommy, those are not, it's not like my cousins, you know. So, you know, they started threatening and they were asking for money and everything. And my mom is very, anyone who knows my mom, she's very English. She's very, very British. So they're asking for the dollars and everything. My mom is like, you know, if I had dollars, would I be here to receive this kind of, you know, insult? And I was kind of like horrified. So I remember slapping her and put her head down and everything. And, you know, they were like, that we should, they said, that's me. You are the one. You are the one that they said that your grandparents opened the door for. That is you that they will ask for. That they told us that you are the one that your grandmother talks to the most. So, you know, they took me through the house to where my grandparents' room was. I had a gun to my head. I had a gun to my back. You know, and they were telling me to knock on the door. And I remember being like, oh my God, because I had seen that you could tell that they had tried to come in another way, probably through the ceiling, because they'd broken the ceiling and everything, you know. And it was really kind of like, it was so funny. It was such a out of body experience, because there are like 7 men in the house. You're just like, what is going on? You see guns. You're like, you know, it's so funny how even at that time, I wasn't like panicking in that way. I was just kind of like, it just seemed like if I was watching myself, if that makes sense. So I, like, an out of body experience, you know. But I kept hearing this voice saying, be calm, just be calm. That's what I was hearing. Just a voice telling me to be calm. And you know, one of them was like, tell her, say you, my grandmother, you know, when I knocked, my grandmother was like, who is it? So I said it was me. I said, it's me, Mama. And then she said, what is it that is late? So the guy said, tell her that you're unwell. Now, I don't speak like that, you know. So I said, okay, Mama, I'm unwell. Must have known. Oh dear. Hello? Can you still hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hello?
Just go on, we can.
Okay, all right, okay, yeah. Okay, all right, cool. So I think my grandmother must have known that something was wrong. So she just started saying my name, Obafeyikemi. She was like, Obafeyikemi, Obafeyikemi. I could hear her kind of like, sort of getting agitated. And the guy kept pushing my head, with the gun and everything. So she came to the door and I just heard her say, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. And then she opens the door. And then they burst into the room. There are a lot of details that I don't remember. They just kind of, my grandfather has a prayer room, so they put me, my mom, my brother, my half sister inside the prayer room, and we were there. Then they went off my grandmother and my grandfather somewhere else. And while they were there, that's when the armed robbers kind of, I think they couldn't attack my mom because she had my baby brother. She was holding me, but I kind of think. I was like the only person, at that time who was available for them. So, they raped me one by one. And I think, again, when these things are happening to you, you don't realize how, I don't know the word to use. You watch movies, you see films and you think to yourself that there's a way to be. But I realized that the only thing you can be is alive. And it was like I wasn't there. And I really feel that that was something that God had done for me. Like it really took me away from that place. And it was just my body that was there. And I just remembered my cousin's photo was on, because it was their prayer room. So the cross was there on the table. There was a picture of Jesus Christ, my cousin's picture, because we were praying for her because she had been sick. So it was her picture that I was looking at. So basically, I don't think my cousin has ever heard this, but it was basically looking at my cousin's picture at the cross that kept me sane throughout however long the experience was. Now, I think it was 6 of them, but one of them didn't touch me because he was the one who actually was whispering to me, and he kept telling me that in Yoruba, he kept saying that no matter what happens, you are going to survive. No matter what happens, you are going to be well. And it was such a weird thing for a robber to be saying to you. And I tell people every day that as much as I don't call myself a Christian anymore. I'm a believer in God. But I realize that God is with you even through hard times. There's your angels are around you even when horrible things are happening. And I believe that there was an angel with me, kind of keeping me sane and keeping me sort of calm and alive. And for me, I think there was something just telling me it's just my body. It's just my body. They were not going to hurt my soul. It was just my body. And we then heard my grandfather. I think he was shot. My grandfather was shot. And and somehow they left. I can't really. Yeah, that was it, and they left. And it was just all the things that happened afterwards that I think for me was the pivotal thing about how incidents here in Nigeria are handled, and things that could be done better, and how people actually don't know what to do when these things happen. Because I remember when my family members, so my uncles, my aunties came and they were like, what happened? And so I just said to them, I was like, they raped me, and my uncles and my auntie, they were horrified. They were like, people were like, no one knew what to do. My grandfather is bleeding. I'm there. So I had to wait until the next day so that they could stabilize him. And then I have 2 cousins that today they're like my angels, my cousin Yemisi and Dream. They're the ones that rushed me. They took me to the hospital. They were there with me all throughout, holding my hand, when I could cry and when I couldn't cry, they kind of just held me up all throughout, talking to me, whatever the doctors were. I can't even tell you what the kind of questions the doctors asked me. I can't tell you, till today. I don't remember. I just know that it was very, there was no empathy. It was just like, okay, what happened? Okay, let's just check you. They did the tests. No, they didn't even do any tests. They just checked. Because I remember that I did my test, my AIDS test when I got back to university in England. And I couldn't really speak to anyone at that time. I couldn't talk. Yes, I was in university in the UK. I was in university in the UK. And
So
my
you had
life
only
changed after that. Everything. I think
exactly.
a lot of my friends kind of realized they saw that something had changed, but nobody knew what had happened. I kind of shut down. I was still very, so I remember that night, 2 nights after, I had a boyfriend and I went out clubbing. I went out clubbing. I went in the shower. I remember the night I went to the shower and I was trying to scrub myself, like in the movies where they scrub and they start crying and no tears would come out, nothing would come out. I couldn't cry, I couldn't do anything. And I think that's when I stopped crying for big things. Like when big things happen, I don't cry. Even till today, when big things happen, I don't cry. Um, but when little things, little tiny things could happen and it could set me off. I know that it changed my personality a lot. I know that something broke in me, that I kind of pretended that didn't break. I kind of believed that I was stronger. I think it was many years later that I realized that it had it had it had affected me more than I knew that it had done.
Okay. This is really very, I'm actually hashtag let's be vulnerable together. That's one of the hashtags I put on my post today because we
Yeah.
need to be vulnerable together. But you're here, the scars are there clearly. But you did say
The
in your
scars,
repost that the scars become a badge. You know what I
the
mean?
scars.
The scars can
Yeah,
be a badge. And you today, you're a mother of three wonderful kids. You
I
are in the
am.
middle of a separation. Again,
I am.
something is
Yeah,
happening in your life that you're
yeah.
seeing that the victor in you is showing its face now, even more than before. Correct?
I
So now,
agree. Yeah.
yeah, so I want you to state for me, you said that my personality changed. I'm saying here, I'm not saying violence is okay, like I said, and I'm going to repeat it again. But if anybody finds that they've suffered that kind of violence, whatever it is, you can heal. And Obafeyikemi is an example. But was it an easy journey?
It definitely was not an easy journey. It was not, it's still not an easy journey because the journey doesn't end. It never ends. It doesn't stop. And that's one of the things that I was hoping that I mean, before I came on, there's an exercise that I do. It's called grounding. And so I had to go for a walk. I have a beautiful tree outside in my grandfather's compound, and I believe that she speaks to me. So I went to her. No, seriously, just comforts me. I went outside just to give thanks to God, to Olodumare, and just tell God that, I don't know what this interview is going to be about. I don't know what this interview is going to bring, but I give thanks for every opportunity. Sorry. I give thanks for every opportunity. I give thanks for the wisdom. I give thanks for every soul that will be healed by me sharing the story. And that as much as I want to keep this story, that it's not for me, as much as even when I'm sharing it, I have to remember that it's not for fame, it's not for notoriety, it's because somebody out there needs to know that they will not be broken, that somebody out there needs to know that regardless of the battles that we go through in life, regardless of the hardships that we face, it always comes out another way. Like there's another chapter, there's another part of you. When people ask me, would I be Obafeyikemi without the rape? I don't think so. I don't think so. So it's not like if I wanted it, but it has made me, I believe, a more compassionate person. I think it has made me, I didn't know that I was strong. Someone tells me that I'm strong, I would say no. But I realize that that has given me strength because I realize that I have survived a lot of things. And even though I may pretend sometimes that I'm not strong because I feel it serves me better, I do know that I'm strong. I'm stronger than I let on, and I'm stronger than I allow people to see. You know,
How did you
that
get
strength
to
sometimes.
How did you get there? How
How
did you get to the place of strength? Because I do know that now you are like a multiple personality. You know what I mean? So I need you to define for me or share that journey because I met you as a chef creating
Yes.
fantastic things. A chef with a
Yeah.
child with disability were writing for today's woman. And I used to
Yeah.
be amazed at how, look at you, you went to school to go and study chefry, for want of a better word, in a world
Yeah.
when it wasn't really like a hip thing to call yourself a chef in Nigeria. You did it
Yeah.
before all of
Yeah.
these things. So I'm
Yeah.
wondering, did this experience make you any more bolder, or were you just, I don't know, I want to understand the journey there.
I have to say that I think my friend says to me that I'm someone who's always ahead of my time, which I do believe. I believe that I'm always like steps ahead. And the thing is that I always like to like when there's a new something new, I want to see what's going on. I'm very curious. I'm a learner. I love to learn. And also I like to try. I always want to say that I've tried, not everything, but I always want to at least say, okay, I tried, I took a go at it. And even with the chefry, it was something hard that happened. It was when we had Ebola in Nigeria that I had the opportunity to be able to go to Dubai, and so that's what happened. It wasn't like my grandmother, God rest her soul, when I was actually 18, wanted to register me in culinary school at that time, and I thought she was crazy. I was like, "You look at me, a caterer." It's so funny, and she knew, and she must have had some foresight that food was in my future somehow, and I really wish. So I think my going to culinary school was a nod to her, to say that I see you, I hear you, and I know that there's something, and though that's one of the things that scares me, actually stepping into that. In this journey as well, I found out that my grandmother on my father's side was also a renowned caterer in Lagos. um, Yes, she was a renowned caterer. She's a Lagos woman who, there's many things about my father's mother that I wish I had known, because I think it would have made my life a lot easier. She's a descendant of the Dahomey Amazons.
Wow.
She's was a wonderful woman. Yes, called Ayinke. She's from Port Novo. She had two husbands.
So you look like you're going to live her life then.
I sort of look at her and I'm like, I wish I had known her, but I love hearing stories about her. And so my two grandmothers, I think, kind of play a big part, even one that I didn't know, in this journey of my life. So the more I find out about my grandmothers, the more it allows Obafeyikemi to step out and, be the kind of woman that, I feel.
I suppose that way you draw the strength for who the WildFresh woman is. But I just permit me to share a few insights so that people can have an idea of who they are talking to.
Okay.
Now, there you are.
Okay.
You are the child of, your mother had you. I mean, she could have taken you out because she found she was pregnant, even though she didn't want to be with the guy. Then she had you. She married someone else, had other kids, right? And then you were in her house, her father's house, when this thing happened to you. So I can imagine what your mother felt like to see you. And then you go ahead to become whatever you became. You got married, because if you're a plus size, but you're full of life, people would see you and say, this kind of person, you did find a husband. You got married. You had 3 wonderful kids. You're like your life was,
It took a lot. It took a lot. Ew. Before I had those children, remember, I still lost children. I lost children before I had my children. So like I ask God all the time that there has to be a purpose to this madness, because but I realize that what it has done for me is that it's the compassion, it's the truth. Like I say that any experience, okay, so rape, I've gone through it. Miscarriage, I've gone through it. Molestation, I've gone through it. Marriage issues, I've gone through it. So there's no experience that a woman will have that I have not experienced, I've had, when I was younger, with someone else, I had to, get rid of a child. And these are experiences that I have been able to speak to other women, in my own capacity. If someone has been through abortion, I've been able to speak to them. If people have gone through miscarriage, I've sat with women who have miscarried. I've sat with women who have been raped. I've sat with women who are having issues in their marriage. So I think when God, even if you don't believe in God, when you need to be able to walk in people's shoes to be able to have compassion, and I've had to walk in many people's shoes. And I'm praying that it will still get me to a place to be able to do something that will be, that I can give more of the experiences. And I feel that that's what the Wild Fresh Woman is. The Wild Fresh Woman has been to hell and back and has survived, basically.
Okay.
Like
I
she
mean,
has stayed at the devil, so.
just been to hell and back. And I like what you said about the fact that, support is key. You understand, you're compassionate, which is what the whole idea of the Idea With Her campaign is. For us to
Yes.
feel the pain of people who have experienced this. If you can
Yes.
empathize, then you will protect them. Before I
Yes.
continue my conversation, I want the technical team to play. There are two pledges we have, and I want to play both. And I'll explain
Okay.
to you why. One of them is a pledge from children to always share all information with their parents, and the other one is a pledge by parents to always protect their kids.
The
And when
children.
we come back,
Yeah.
I want us to explore the whole idea of how does a parent, unfold, should they respond when they find themselves in a situation like your mother, your grandmother, your grandfather found themselves in, when what happened to you, and also what kind of help and what should they be doing to help that child to heal. So if technical is ready, please go ahead.
I pledge to always talk to my parents and other trusted adults about anything that makes me feel sad, angry, afraid, or worried. I pledge to say no if someone asks to see or touch my private parts. I pledge to respect and care for other children as I like to be respected and cared for. I pledge to report, speak out, and get help from my parents or a trusted adult when anyone hurts me. So help me God. I pledge to learn about types, signs, and prevention of violence against children. I pledge to speak out and report all cases of violence against children to the appropriate authorities. I pledge to step in and help any child experiencing violence. I pledge to consciously create an environment free from violence for my child. I pledge to communicate effectively and spend quality time with my children and build a trustworthy relationship with them. So help me God.
Yes, what do you think about those pledges?
So when we were reading the pledge, I think I actually started tearing up because one of the things that happened was that actually I only told my mom last year. My mom only found out last year. And when I say found out, I think she, though she was in the room, she was protecting my younger brother. And I realized that, we don't talk about certain things. So I think, well, when I say last year, 2 years ago, yeah, the year before I left to go to the UK, and it was in anger that I told her, it
Before
was
you
in anger.
left to go back to the UK.
Before I went to the UK, yeah, I was falling sick. I was falling really sick. I was losing my hair. My body was fighting me from all the things I was stuffing inside. And there was just one day I was just angry and I was just like, I was just yelling at her, like no one cares. No one was there for me. No one asked me what was wrong. Nobody asked me, what I was doing. Nobody took me anywhere. Nobody showed me a therapist, that I've had to heal myself. And she was looking at me like, what the hell are you talking about? And I was like, I was raped, mommy, I was raped. And she was just like, what are you saying? And I was like, Mommy, that day when the arm robbers were there, they raped me. And she looked like, my mom doesn't really cry much. And she was just looking at me. She was like, I didn't know. I didn't know. And she just kept saying it, I didn't know. And it broke my heart because I'd
It's
been
okay.
angry with her for so long. You know, I was angry with a lot of people for so long. Um, but many people didn't know what to do. You know, a lot of people didn't know what to say. And so for me, I feel like if that pledge is one that not just parents, but family, friends, I think people need to realize that a lot of people are carrying a lot of baggage and a lot of scars. And sometimes you see people acting out and you see people doing things that is not their character and you don't know what's going on, you know? And you don't realize the things that people are having to survive and the things that people are having to just stand up every day and, put on this mask and put on this shield just to protect themselves. And so when I speak, I remember the first time when I spoke, when I shared a poem on Instagram, and a friend sent me a message online, and she said, "Faye, you are brave." And I said, "Brave? I didn't choose to be brave. This thing found me." And she goes, "No, that you don't understand that you living your truth, you living this life, that though you think that people are laughing at you, people are only laughing at you because you are a mirror of what they don't want to see in themselves." And I cried that day because I realized that this truth that I speak is not because um, I didn't choose it. Like, I would have chosen an easier path, definitely. I would have chosen one that is not so full of anguish and pain. I would have chosen one that has less bumps, less tragedy. But I also know that it's important for people to know that, this thing that happened is not your shame. You are the one who it happened to. The people who should be ashamed are those that hurt, not the person that was hurt. There's nothing to be ashamed of. And so I always say to myself that for me, I feel like it happened to my body, but it didn't happen to Obafeyikemi because my spirit resides in me and my spirit was not raped. It wasn't. So there's no one that can point a finger at me or there's no one that can make me feel ashamed because I refuse to carry that shame. I don't carry it anymore. For
Mm.
many years, I carried it. For many years, it was an embarrassment. For many years, I didn't know what to do, and I didn't know whether anyone would love me. I didn't know whether anybody would want to be with this person who has been abused, who had been, degraded by the lowest of the low. It's not like a boyfriend or something. It's like the lowest of the low in society. Who would want somebody like that? But and that's where this journey of love, the wild fresh woman is the woman who finds love in herself, who realizes that it's not about finding love outside, it's about finding love within herself. And that is what that a lot of people have, even me taking time off. And I said that I didn't take it off knowing everything that has happened to me. I really believe that I have angels, my grandmother, my ancestors who just intercede for me at any time when they feel like I'm about to break down. I didn't go to the UK, I went away to the UK. For those who didn't know, I've been away for a year and a half. And literally, I just went to go for a medical checkup, and things happened, and then COVID happened, and that was my blessing. It was a blessing in disguise. And though I had to be away from my children need me to heal. My children need me to be okay. And for any woman who's out there, if you don't take time for yourself, life will kick you and it will kill you. Literally, your body will begin to show you that you cannot continue hiding and like putting bandages on top of, a soiled wound. You must treat the wound. You must clean it out. You must put ointment on it. You must allow it to breathe. That wound needs to breathe, or it will fester and it will smell, and you have to deal with it. So that time away for me was my
Mhm.
allowing the wound to breathe.
So in that time has evolved this sensual woman. And when you talk about dealing with, you describe yourself as an intuitive chef, a sensual coach, or sensual and
Yeah.
sensuality coach, and you are an actor, you are a poet, you are a designer, all of these things end up in one name, Wild Fresh. What comes to my head when I hear Wild Fresh is something that is wild but remains fresh. If you take it and
Mm.
trap it in a cage, it will rot.
Well, it will rot.
It will rot. So now I
It will
want
die.
you, it will die, it will starve, and it will die. So
Yeah.
for you, it is very critical that people
Yeah.
realize. But how are you expressing this? Tell me about the community of women you're trying to create and how
Yeah.
people can be part of that community. And tell me three things that you've learned that can help people cope if they find themselves in a situation like you found it. I mean, now you are in your 40s. This is more than almost
Yeah.
20 years ago this happened to you. You have
Yes. Yeah.
evolved and evolved and evolved and evolved. Now you have three kids. You're in the middle of walking away from a relationship that didn't work, even though there was a ring on it, right? And it's tough. So you're
Yeah.
yet again going through something that's going to
Yeah.
question your mindset, but you still say
Yeah.
you are a victim. Tell me about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for me, part of the Wild Fresh Woman journey is first of all understanding that you're not perfect. First of all, we're human beings. We're not perfect. This journey is continuous. It doesn't end, as I said before. And for me, the Wild Fresh Woman is a woman who realizes that her wildness is what makes her who she is. She's like a force of nature. Nature has many different facets. For a long time, I thought it was just smiley face constantly, Obafeyikemi, just constantly. But I realized that that was causing a lot of anxiety, was causing a lot of bitterness inside of me because you can't be smiling all the time. That's not life. Life is about the rain, the storm, the sun, the thunder, the everything. So I have to, you must express all those sides of you. So one of the first things is telling yourself the truth. You can lie to everybody else, but if you lie to yourself, that's where the problem starts. So the first thing that I had to say to myself is that, Obafeyikemi, you are not happy all the time. You are not a nice person.
You're not a nice person
And
all
was
the
one thing
time.
that freed me. It freed me. I am not a nice person all the time. I'm going to use bad language, but I think it's necessary. Obafeyikemi at times, and she needs to be. I apologize in advance, but she has to be because life is going to throw punches at you and you are going to have to put your dukes up and be able to punch back. That's the first thing that I had to learn. I had to learn that there was nothing wrong with saying no. And then there was nothing wrong to saying yes to myself, right? So you have to learn to say no to what doesn't serve and also saying yes to it's very important. Um, realizing that selfishness selfishness is not the way that we've been taught selfishness is very is very redundant. Preservation. You have to be able to look after yourself. I'm not sure whether I'm freezing or what's going on. Are you able to hear me very well? Hello? Okay. Yeah, so self-love is extremely important.
We are coping
Am I
somehow. You've talked
freezing?
about three things already. You've talked about life will throw punches at you. You've got to put your dukes on and get ready to punch life back. The second thing is you've got to learn to say no, not just to others, but to yourself as well. And the third point you're talking about is
Yes.
selfishness is not such a bad thing.
Selfishness is not always a bad thing. I mean, that we always think that thing that they say on the plane, putting on your oxygen mask, you must breathe first. You must have enough oxygen for yourself before you can give anyone anything. If you have, your cup must be full before you can pour out. Now, I didn't. Oh dear.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. It froze on my side. Your cup has to be full before you have anything to give anyone else. And a lot of
Mhm,
times,
mhm,
many of us have emptied ourselves out, and we don't have
mhm,
enough for even ourselves. Your cup has to be full. You have to do
mhm,
the things that help you. You have to do the things that nourish you. You have to do the things that nurture you. You have to rest. You have to give yourself, quiet time. My sister laughs at me when I tell her that for me, being out in nature for me was like my own game changer. Like going out for walks. I told you, finding my trees. People think I'm crazy, but my trees for me are so important. Being
What
able
does that
to
symbolize for you, though? The idea of a tree. I just get the feeling that it has a symbolism. I mean, there's a symbol, something, it expresses some form of symbolism for you.
I think it's that thing about, when you see a tree has its roots deeply embedded in the ground. And that's why I was talking about grounding. It's one of the exercises that we do, like for me, for calming techniques, is grounding. And so when you're grounding, you see yourself like a tree with your roots from your feet connecting into the earth. And I think by the time you get to know a lot more about me, you'll know that I'm very connected to Mother Earth. I really believe that there's a strength there that we can get from the earth. So we see ourselves as our roots growing into the ground, connecting us into the earth and connecting with the energy of everything that is around us. It really helps to connect you and to keep you grounded. Many times we're so lost in our thoughts, we're lost in the air, that a lot of us are not actually settled in our human bodies. And so the act of grounding allows you to really settle into your human body and connect you to the earth, because we have so much stress. Do you need me to stop?
Yeah, I just wanted to
Okay.
bring a point. I understand. I understand about the earth and being grounded and all of that. Now, this is you, a full adult speaking. When you were just barely out of your 20s, this thing happened to you. Imagine a
Yes.
young girl who's under 16 or under whatever, and this happens to
Yeah.
them. How do you think they can deal with it? What should
Okay.
parents and caregivers be doing to help them deal with it? You have the worst possible case, but you can
Yeah.
imagine it may be happening to younger girls today. You just never know.
Yeah. I think, as I was saying about my mom, I was thinking that for people who do know, I think the first thing is to you listen. It's just to provide a listening ear. And it doesn't matter whether the person doesn't know what they want to say yet, just for them to know that you are available to listen. And then this may sound very kind of, just embracing someone without speaking,
A
hugging
hug.
them and letting them know, a hug, you know, and then finding them help, whether it's in a form. Now, the thing is that there are different forms of therapy. For me, certain types of therapy didn't work for me. I had to find the right person for me. And I'm still in the process of still finding someone else, but allowing them to find a professional to be able to speak to. There's talking therapy, there's all sorts of different types of therapy. Yes, we have our sexual helplines, of people who are caring and compassionate and who realize that it's important to know that her story is important. and especially people who are trained to not make the victim feel like it was their fault in any way. It doesn't matter whether she was naked. It doesn't matter whether she was wearing a short skirt. It doesn't matter whether she. It doesn't matter what it was. No one deserves to be assaulted in any way. And I think that's one of the things that is important.
Did you wish you could, like, kill any of them or put them behind bars or something?
So it's kind of funny because there was an incident where we had to actually go to the police station. I remember we had to go to the police station. They had rounded up some people, but I knew it wasn't any of the men that came to the house, right? So for me, it was just a wasted venture, because one of the things that I didn't understand. So I think my grandmother and I, when we got to the police station, we were thinking that it was going to be like in America, right, where they have a door and it's protected and they can't see you. No, not in Nigeria. They stand, you sit, and the people walk past you one by one, and you're supposed to point at them. So my grandmother was like, "No way, putting this child through this. No." She said no, she wasn't going to. That she thought that was too dangerous. Something.
Okay, this is what we get when we have to depend on connectivity.
A victim in a room full of people who have what it's like now. But I think, hello?
Yeah, you were freezing a bit. That's why I stepped in. You were freezing a little.
Okay. Okay, I'm back now. Yeah, I was saying that I'm hoping that has changed. The fact that the victim has to identify her assailants like face to face. I think that needs to be different. But I think that having help, having a support network and people who are constantly checking on the victim, I think is very important.
And so I'm thinking, you kept on talking about empathy and being able to empathize. Like in the circumstance that you described, even at the hospital, the medical people they were cold, you said. And then this whole idea of trying to identify those who did this to you was also, it must have been traumatic, right? It must have been traumatic, but I wonder though, yes, I wonder though, Obafeyikemi. Okay. What does Obafeyikemi mean?
Sorry, I saw it was saying Feyikemi.
Yes, because I remember I used to say Fei. Then
everyone called me Fei.
Obafeyikemi. Now I'm saying Kemi, yes. Feyikemi. I said, no, it's Obafeyikemi. At least there's something about Obafeyikemi that you want to hold on to.
Yeah. In the time that I was away, when I was in the UK, I remember one day just hearing, I think it was, for me, things come in sounds or like words. That's how I hear things in my head. And I just heard the power of a name, the power of a name. And then another day was Obafeyikemi, the full form, the full name. And so I went to sit with it, and I sat with it, and I had this talk, and it's on my Instagram page on my IGTV, where I'm talking about how God sort of showed me how a person's destiny can be truncated by the changing of their name, because your name can be a very important tool for you, because when your parents give you this name, it's a way to identify you. It's like a prophetic thing. It proclaims you. It ushers you into rooms. Now, my grandfather on my father's side, when I was born, and I said the situation regarding my birth was very kind of, love child. So Obafeyikemi, I'm the only one, the oldest Obafeyikemi ever. I'm the first Obafeyikemi. So it's a very special name. There are Feyikemis, but there was no Obafeyikemi, and it means that God gave this child to care for and pamper us. So as a gift of care and pampering. you know. And so it made me realize that not only was I a gift to my parents, but I have to be a gift to myself. And so it helps me to remind myself when people are trying to treat me anyhow, I remember that I'm made for love and I'm made for pampering, I'm made for looking after. You know, if you don't see me as a gift to you, then it means that I'm not the person for you. Right? So if I come into your life and you think that I'm I don't like this person, and you cannot see me as a gift of love and of pampering and of, just happiness and joy, then definitely I'm not the person for you. So it's a reminder for me constantly, and that's why Obafeyikemi is so important to me.
So clearly, you need to live your destiny, and if you don't bear your name, you are truncating your destiny. So your destiny today is to develop the wild, fresh woman. I mean, you still do your chefry because you have this delicious sauce that you've created, and it's available on your Instagram page.
Yeah.
But I would like you to speak to the
Yes.
theme of our conversation, which is I Day with Her. And I was going in that direction before we went into Obafeyikemi direction.
Yeah.
Where how do we get people to empathize with the fact that we need to day with her to be able to develop the kind of women, wild, fresh women, that will build our nation and build our world?
Yeah. So one of the things that my friends, they're tired of me because I'm like, I am a woman's woman today. I wasn't always, but today I'm a woman's woman. I don't care what she did. I don't care what she said. I don't care what happened. I'm standing with her. I day with her. Before, out of insecurity and things, I've stepped into places I shouldn't have. But the idea of daying with somebody is to see another woman as yourself. See the struggles that she may be going through. See the heartache that she may be going through. Be your sister's keeper. Be the auntie, the daughter, the mother who is going to stand. You know how in the old days where village women will stand and they can't wait, I'm here. You cannot, if they want to, if a husband is beating her, the congregation of women are ready to stand and tie cloths. If somebody wants to injure a woman, the women are ready to stand. I day with her. That is the woman that Obafeyikemi is. That is who a wild, fresh woman is. A woman who is ready to be in her wildness with other women and show real sisterhood. That
So
is
we
what's
need
the
to we need to show sisterhood, and we also need our men to work with us. So it's
work
been
with us.
a wonderful hour. We don't know when time
Oh my God,
flies.
it's an hour.
It's been a wonderful hour, but it's been a very educative one. But again, if nobody takes anything away from this conversation today, like I always ask, what would it be that you think they should go away with? One thing in 30 seconds.
Oh, self-love. Everything starts with self. Everything starts with you. Everything starts with you. You have to start from yourself. Every other thing, once you start with yourself, you start from the inside of yourself, start working with yourself, all other things are fine.
And no
Start
matter
with
how
self.
bad or how terrible the abuse, you can survive. You can
You
thrive.
can survive. You can survive. You can survive. We have Oprah Winfrey and Maya Angelou and Obafeyikemi to show you can survive.
Thank you very much, Obafeyikemi. I appreciate it. But I want
Thank
us
you,
to sign
sis.
out by showing the wild, fresh woman, which for me is a kind of woman who should be today's woman, a woman who will stand with other women, regardless of whatever it is. If you find them having an issue, first find out what it is, hug them, teach them, help them, and walk them towards healing. Or whatever
Yes.
it is, you can heal. People have been sending comments. Unfortunately, I couldn't read it. I promised that somebody could be part of this, but we're getting so caught in this conversation, I couldn't bring them in. I thank all of you for watching. I thank you, Obafeyikemi. Just remain in the studio
Thank you, Ayla.
while I play as I sign out with the Wild Fresh Woman. And remember, both of us to sign off with hashtag I Day with Her.
I day with her.
The wild, fresh, sensual woman discovers herself on a journey looking inwards. connecting to God, connecting to nature, connecting to her heart and soul. WildFresh is a way of being, an expression of who you are, your thoughts, your desires, your behaviors, your values, your relationships. You can express your WildFresh self and experience it all without any shame, being true to your authentic self. It's a journey of self-discovery, and for you, it will be different from the next person.